John Lynch just might have another trade up his sleeve. What's up? Good afternoon. I'm Grant Cohn. Just got home from 49ers training camp. It was the last day of camp. They have final cuts tomorrow, and then we'll be in the locker room, and the season will be upon us. I want everyone to know that I took Bart home from Santa Clara today to Oakland. It was a wonderful experience. I'm a seasoned Amtrak professional, but Amtrak doesn't pick you up till 3:10, and I need to get the hell out of there. I'd be on Amtrak right now if Bart wasn't so great. I want to shout out the VTA. I want to shout out Milpitas as a city, and I want to shout out Bart for being so unappealing to the rest of the population. $6.90 to go from Milpitas to Lake Merritt, Bart. $6.90. Do you know how much money that would cost you if you were riding the fast track lane? And if you don't take the fast track lane, you get traffic, which sucks. So I just want to shout out again public transportation and the fact that Californians don't use it. Keep not using it. It's my thing. I heard Lombardi talking about how he's taking the train to work now. Man, can you get your own personality? Jeez. Guy jocks my whole life. I'm just going to start doing really erratic, weird stuff. He's going to start doing it too. Remember when I was doing film breakdowns and he started doing them too? I'm bringing him back. And I got to make him work harder. Get out of here. My dude says Dangerous Dave 23. Tell us all about it. What up, chat peeps? What up, Dangerous Dave 23? I just hung out with Dangerous Dave 23 yesterday in Oakland. He's on an adventure all around the country. I'd like to do that. Robbie Red says, Grant, let me buy you a drink in Danville. Man, I haven't been out to Danville since my college girlfriend and I broke up in 2008. She was from Danville. She once showed me E40 and Gary Payton's houses. They're side by side in a cul-de-sac in Blackhawk. But yeah, Danville, it's not a place you really want to get caught in. I get arrested in Danville. If you don't shave, it's just, what am I talking about? Joseph Ernberg says, Jacoby Myers possibility. Grant, you're too nice. Way too nice. That's what everyone on the team says about me. Real quick, I heard through the grapevine, remember I've been talking about Robbie Chosen? I was like at the team hotel by mistake, and then they signed him, and I made that like real quick video like, oh, come on, they should have signed Amari Cooper. Robbie Chosen is washed. And then that night I saw him I was at the bar at the team hotel, and he just like got in and he saw me, and I kind of felt him looking at me, and I felt he was upset with me. Well, I heard that he wasn't, and that he wants to make sure that people know that he wasn't upset with me. So I was just projecting because I felt bad. He didn't do anything wrong. I did. Robbie Chosen isn't a disgruntled veteran. He's actually a good football player who's legitimately having a good camp. He's been healthy. He's going to start. I bet he starts week 1 if Jauan Jennings isn't out there. So shout out to Robbie Chosen for being cool. That's what I heard. Just want to say that. Seems like people are watching my streams these days. All right. So before we get into the trade the Niners could make, and they could make a trade soon, today, let's talk about their first round of cuts. This happened this morning. Before practice, they cut Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai. They waived injured them, so if they clear through waivers, they could come back to the 49ers. They also waived Jalen Allen and Shaquille Brown. Do you know what positions they play? I'm not going to tell you. Then they released running back Keshawn Vaughn, and then they put Isaiah Prince on injured reserve. Those are the initial moves. It's interesting that they waived injured Bradley and Mordecai. It's not surprising, but it's interesting because we know that the Niners were kind of wasting their time with these backups who are practice squad guys at best. Both of them were limping around in that final game the other night. And now the Niners really don't have a third quarterback. I mean, well, you could put one of those guys on the practice squad, but maybe the Niners would actually like to have a third quarterback plus the practice squad guy who would be the fourth quarterback, considering they have serious injury issues every year. And this year seems to be another one of those years. So, okay. Is there a quarterback out there the Niners could trade for? Is there a quarterback out there? And remember, John Lynch, I saw him in practice today. He was on the phone. He was talking to someone on the phone. This clearly indicates that the Niners are going to make another trade. How else could you interpret John Lynch talking on the phone? So I'm thinking, what about Deion's kid? What about Shedeur Sanders? Is he good? No, not particularly. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have a spot on this team right here, because they have a lot of not good players on the 49ers this year. They have a ton of them. They have some really good players, but a lot of not good players as well. And if they're looking for one more, Shedeur could fit right in. He's a guy you talk about a guy who can get himself sacked. He's got a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo in him, going down. So I think we've seen what Jimmy Garoppolo could do in this system. Why not bring in Shedeur Sanders? Oh, just because there's a circus that follows him around? So I love the circus. The circus is underrated. Does the circus still exist? People talk about circuses and stuff. I would love to go to the circus, see an elephant stand on a ball. Do they do that? Bearded lady? I want to go to the circus, but that's the thing. Shedeur Sanders seems like he's the ringleader. And I don't know if the Niners want that. They really like to have boring backup quarterbacks, which I understand. But selfishly, as a content creator, you bet your ass I want Shedeur Sanders on this team. Not because it would be good for the 49ers, but because it would be good for me. It would give me things to talk about. Although I think it'd be bad for coverage in general, because you would see everyone would just start talking about Shedeur Sanders every day. Do you ever notice when you go on ESPN.com or any national website that talks about football, the NFL, it's Shedeur Sanders article after Shedeur Sanders article, which is probably why Browns head coach doesn't want him. It's like, man, why is Shedeur Sanders the most famous player in the NFL right now? That's not what you want. Well, because people are interested in him. And if it's funny, if you follow the Shedeur Sanders discourse, it's like the Trey Lance discourse, but times a million. The Browns are people are talking about it like it's systemic racism over there. It's like, man, we did that whole conversation with Trey Lance 2-3 years ago. I really wish I was covering it, though. Can you imagine if I was in Cleveland covering that? I just want to get a piece of it. I want to get some of that action. Some of that sounds weird. I was going to say some of that Shedeur action, but that doesn't sound good. But it's like the guy, I write for SI.com, and the publisher who covers the Steelers has been number one in the company a bajillion months in a row because they have nothing but drama. Aaron Rodgers, that's not fair. I want Aaron Rodgers, but I'll settle for Shedeur Sanders. Help me out. This has been such a boring offseason, man. No quarterback controversy. Pfft. Boring. That's all I have to say about Shedeur Sanders for now. Dangerous Dave says, nice hoodie. Just saying, G is the best, everyone. Made in America. Check it out. This is the Patriot. Dangerous Dave gave it to me. I met him. He is, in fact, dangerous, which is why I'm so happy he's my friend. 6'8". Almost was a UFC fighter, but he's my friend. So step off, because if you mess with me, you're going to have to go through Dave, unless he's on the other side of the country. I'm not going to tell you where he is. JDM 4087 says, you should check out the latest episode of Raw Room. Former 49er Mike Davis was a guest. He talked a bit about the locker room situation with Tom Sula and Chip Kelly being Panthers teammates with CMC and a few other things. $20. Well, since you gave me $20, I will definitely check out the latest episode with Mike Davis. I remember Mike Davis, South Carolina. Did you see Mike Davis call CMC selfish? Oh my goodness. I called him greedy today. I think there's probably a lot of evidence that. What do you think Jordan Mason thinks of Christian McCaffrey? Aren't all professional athletes selfish to a degree, though? I mean, how many guys are like, yo, come take my job. Come show everyone that you're better than me. Come on, get on the field. Fair is fair. I've been tearing it up. Your turn. Doesn't really work that way. Petty AF. I mean, you're petty AF, right? You should understand. I think Sanders would be a step up. All right, the next trade. If the Niners don't trade for Shedeur Sanders, and look, trading for Shedeur Sanders would be cool, but he'd be a third-string quarterback on this team. They could trade for a starter. Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers has requested a trade, and the Raiders went and signed Amari Cooper just now. So it's possible that maybe Jacoby Myers won't stay with the Raiders. Maybe they'll actually trade him, give him what he wants. And obviously the 49ers are a team that should be interested, considering they're in line to start Robbie Chosen week 1. And again, Robbie's having a good offseason. He's doing a good job. But you might want to, hedge your bets a little bit there, considering Robbie's been sort of on the sidelines the last couple of years. I mean, he hasn't really been asked to be a huge contributor recently. So he might be ready. Don't get me wrong. But in case that he's not, you might want to go trade for another wide receiver. And as good as Robbie Chosen is, Jacoby Myers is a little bit better. He wants a lot of money. He's probably better than Jauan Jennings. He's probably better than Jauan Jennings. Good fit. And I think I know exactly what the Niners should offer. Maybe this is why John Lynch was on the phone pacing around in circles during practice. Usually he's locked in watching the action like a coach, but today he was doing his real job, which is phone conversations. So let's assume he was on the phone with Raiders GM, what's his face? Spytek, making an offer he can't refuse. See, the Niners could always offer a draft pick for Jacoby Myers. And draft picks are good, but the Niners need their draft picks because they're trying to retool for the future. So I think, ideally, you offer a player, not a draft pick. Someone who needs a change of scenery, and yet someone who is extremely talented, because this is Jacoby Myers we're talking about, a really, really good wide receiver. So who is that player on the 49ers that they don't really need anymore, but is undeniably talented and is someone that the Raiders and really any team would be dying to have? I know that player. One of the most talented players the Niners have. It just hasn't worked out yet for whatever reason, but it's clearly going to work out for this player down the line. Jake Moody. I think the Niners should trade Jake Moody to the Raiders for Jacoby Myers. Now, do the Raiders need Jake Moody? Do they have a kicker? I have no idea. I don't follow that team. But anytime you can add a Jake Moody to your roster that just went like 4-13 or whatever the Raiders went last year, you got to do that, because can you imagine how many more games they would win with Jake? And anytime you could trade a Jake for a Jacoby, I think it's a good move. I think the Niners have too many Jakes, but if you could flip one for a Jacoby, it's a similar name, but it's a little different. I don't see how the Raiders say no to this. Who says no? Jacoby Myers for Jake Moody. Who says no? I just feel like there should be a trade market for Jake Moody, because he's one of the most talented kickers in the league. Whether or not the ball goes through the uprights, the talent is there. And I don't know exactly what that means, but the talent is palpable. He was a 3rd-round pick, which means that now, given all of the kicks he has made in his career, he's probably worth like a 2nd-round pick. Probably. So I think it would be the generous thing to do. As long as you're going to fleece a team and take a Jacoby Myers from them, why not send back a Jake Moody? Because as talented as Jake Moody is, he's just not talented enough to play for the 49ers, who are the most talented team of all time. So why don't you just help out the Raiders, who are really struggling, and send them Moody? I think it could work. I have a feeling they're not going to do it, though, because they love Jake Moody. And why would you not? He's so talented. The way, like, when he misses the extra point, the ball keeps flying because he kicked it so hard. I love that. I don't really care whether the ball goes through the uprights. I just want to see, powerful contact, and he delivers. It's not about the results in life. It's about the process, and his is interesting. So I hope they keep him. But if you had to get rid of him, I think it'd be nice to get a Jacoby Myers in return. So do you think they'll do it? I just think they're in love with Jake Moody. They're in love with the idea of what he could do for their team, and they don't really want to spend more money. I think Jacoby Myers, if you trade for him, you have to give him an extension. And he probably wants like $25 million a year because wide receivers are insane. Have you guys noticed that? You're like, oh, this wide receiver, he's pretty good. He's probably a team guy and would be willing to. No, he wants $25 million a year because what has Jacoby Myers ever done? Let me see what Jacoby Myers is working with. Pause. Jacoby Myers stats. That's what I'm talking about. Numbers. I got a bad reputation over here. I just want to make that clear. Okay. So he had 1,000 yards last year. Wow. He's like the Jauan Jennings of the Raiders. He's 28. Oh my goodness. How about this? Jacoby Myers for Jauan Jennings. Straight up. They're about the same age. Jacoby Myers can actually like sprint as opposed to Jauan Jennings, who gives you that like, vigorous jog, that vigorous stride. Could work. I just feel like the Niners are making it pretty clear that they don't want to pay any wide receiver, not Jauan, not Jacoby, not Amari. The Raiders signed Amari Cooper, and the Niners were like, it's a little too rich for us. Why don't we just trade for Sky Moore? That was a great trade. Can we just give the 49ers their props for bringing in Sky Moore? I mean, when they go 15-2 this year, you're going to go back to that trade and be like, that was the catalyst. Not because he produced or made an impact, but the rest of the team was inspired by Sky. How did his parents give him 2 Ys? I feel so bad for him, man. That's the thing about names. You don't name yourself. He's just walking around with his name, Sky with 2 Ys. The dad was like, I got it. The mom was like, let's name him Sky. The dad was like, well, wait a second. Are we talking 1 Y or 2? And she was like, well, 1, obviously. And he was like, let's double it. Let's double it. I feel bad for him. How are you supposed to succeed in the NFL with back-to-back Ys in your first name? It's hard. You name me one player who's ever done it. Consecutive Ys to end a name. Name me one. It's not easy to do. Just saying. I think the Niners need to stop trying to find people, the exceptions to the rule. The Real Lyrics Media says, hi, Grant. I go to your streams for comedy relief and Krug for balanced content. Dave L is way too positive, even when it doesn't make sense, i.e. Sky Moore. I'm not, what, like I'm a clown? Well, like I'm here to amuse you? What, you saying I'm funny? Funny how? I'm not balanced? You go to Krug for balance? Funny how? Like a clown, like I'm here to amuse you. Thanks a lot for $10. Adam K NYC says, you haven't been this funny in a long time. My 13-year-old son and I love listening to you. He's a huge fan, and his name is Asim. Well, thank you, Asim. Haven't been this funny in a long time. Man, I'm not funny at all. I'm dead serious, man. Why do people keep thinking I'm making jokes? I am dead serious about everything I say. This is life and death. The 49ers and football. This is super important. And I'm here to tell you that they're doing everything right and they're great. Sincerely, Grant Cohn. Thank you, Adam. Could we talk about what hold on. Could we talk about what Jauan Jennings wants? I don't think people really understand. Yeah, he's got a calf injury or whatever, and like that's probably a factor, probably. But I think it's pretty clear that he's holding in/out at the same time. And maybe he has leverage because, DeMarcus Robinson suspended, also didn't practice today, could be hurt. There's so many hurt guys. But like when he held out, I was thinking, yeah, man, the Niners should give him the Cooper Kupp deal. 2 years, $15 million per, 3 years, $15 million per. That would be fair. Do you think Jauan Jennings wants $15 million per? I mean, Devontae Adams got $22 million per this offseason, and he's 44 years old, give or take. I'm thinking Jauan Jennings thinks he's better than Devontae Adams, even though he's not. But Devontae Adams is on the downside of his career. Like I said, he's 44 years old. Jauan's only 28, 29, 28. Now, maybe he'll settle for less, but I bet he wants like $25 million a year, which is why the Niners can't make him happy. You can't give him $25 million a year. You could sign Amari Cooper. You could trade for Jacoby Myers, but you can't give him $25 million a year either. So I supported Jauan Jennings at first. I felt like he was essential to the team and he wasn't asking for more than he's worth, but I think he's asking for more than he's worth. And I think the Niners are kind of being, I don't often support their front office. I like to roast the front office because what are they doing most of the time? But I would roast them if they extended him at this point. How many players are you going to cave to? At some point, you have to say no, enough. And I think this is the Niners putting their foot down, drawing the line in the sand, all those bad metaphors, cliches that my dad doesn't like me to use because he paid for me to go to UCLA. I didn't even pay for that. He paid. I'm so spoiled. English major, and I don't even use good grammar. So, Dad, I'm sorry for the cliche. I'm working on it. They can't give him a raise. You think they're going to give him a raise? They can't extend him. But if they give him a raise, he's supposed to make like $7 million this year. They could pump it up to 20. No, you can't do that. You got to show him and the rest of the team that the Niners this is a new Niners. This is a new team, and they're not going to cave to every player who acts out publicly. I mean, Jauan's tried everything. He even put up the cryptic post on Instagram day of the last preseason game, like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm upset. I'm not happy. I feel it, man. Me neither. A lot of time. But it's not going to work. I'm on the Niners side here. Don't give in. Can't. And if it costs you some games this year, then that's your fault. Should have drafted better. But what you can't do is just give Jauan Jennings whatever he wants, which is probably $25 million a year. Not worth it. Joseph for real says, Trey saying take it easy on everyone reminds me how young and blessed he is. Quarterback position does require that dog. Even Brock has a little outdoor dog, though. I thought it was really cool. It felt like a very Christian thing to do. I'm not Christian, but I went to Catholic high school. And some of my best friends are very Christian. Shout out Jesse Naylor. I feel like the best Christians have this ability to forgive and move on. And like Jew over here, we're very big into revenge and like, grudges. It's what the Old Testament is all built on. So when you can really see someone who's 25 years old and is able to truly forgive, or at least in that moment, feel like they've moved on, it's inspirational. No snark at all. That's really one of the things I admire most about Christianity. That thing. Mr. Fish and Chips OBE says, is Lombardi set to be released from press room soon? Joseph Ernberg says, Grant, UFC gym Concord 2 p.m. tomorrow. I can't, man. They got final cuts. I would be there whooping everyone's ass, but I can't. But I would. Dangerous Dave 23 says, what difference is holding out or in showing up? Holding out means like not even in the facility. Holding in means going to meetings, but not going out to practice. And holding in is sort of like this not weaselly, but it's a way to get around the fines. If you don't go to camp, they have to fine you $50,000 a day, and they can't give you the money back at the end of the holdout. They used to be able to give you the money back at the end of the holdout, but there's a new rule in the CBA. It went from $40,000 a day to $50,000 a day with no refund. So players are like, hey, fuck that. I don't care how rich I am. I'm not giving you all that money, because what, at the end of it's going to be $500,000 or more. So they hold in, and teams are like, all right, we'll honor that loophole because we don't want to completely alienate you just yet. Just yet. Does that answer your question? I did it. He held in. Jennings holding in. But really rich players that don't give a fuck hold out, like Bosa. Or did Bosa hold out or hold in? I don't remember. Trent Williams held out. He didn't give a fuck. And I respect that. I think holding in is kind of whack. If you really, whatever happened to standing on business? Did that die in 2023? People don't say that anymore. But if you want to stand on business, you got to hold out. Holding in, that's like sitting on business, laying on business, skating on business. That's not standing on it. That's not 10 toes down. That's like 7 toes with 3 in the air. Can you put 3 toes in the air? I don't think so. But it's still not 10 toes down. It's not standing on business. Not even a little bit. Such good questions today, man. Bosa held out. That's what I'm saying. All right. First impression of Brian Robinson Jr. First of all, I said the Niners should trade for him, so good. He seems like a solid all-around back. He's tough. He's strong. He's powerful. He can catch the ball a little bit. That's my first impression of Brian Robinson Jr. He's tall. He runs a little upright. He's pretty good. Now, the thing about comparing him to Jordan Mason, there's a reason that Trent Williams compared him to Marshawn Lynch. I don't think Trent Williams is very complimentary, for the record. Like, he'd probably compare Jake Moody to Adam Vinatieri if you let him. But I don't think he would compare Brian Robinson. I don't think anyone would compare Brian Robinson Jr. to Marshawn Lynch. What is it about Jordan Mason that got that compared? Well, it's the way he runs. Some people run angry. You heard the concept? That's Mason. Doesn't practice, doesn't games. You could talk about, how good he is overall. He gets injured. He fumbles sometimes. He didn't catch a lot of passes, but he runs really freaking hard and with anger. He goes to the dark place and lives there, stays there. It's a nice quality for a running back. It's why he reminded me of Marshawn Lynch as well. One of the things I love most about Jordan Mason is when I told him that, he was like, "Who's Marshawn Lynch?" I'm like, look up his highlights. Came back the next day. He's like, "Man, why are you comparing me to a future Hall of Famer?" I'm like, "Because you're my favorite player of all time, Jordan." Anyway, he's gone. And you have Brian Robinson Jr. Doesn't run angry from what I can see, but he runs well, runs hard, and he can catch passes. He didn't get any targets today, but I've seen him. I just want to say something that I think Jaden Daniels and the Commanders did a good job of involving him in the passing game, even though he's not the most dynamic player, and now he's gone. What I want to say about his receiving, whatever the targets and receptions and yards are, look at his average depth of target for his career. It's like -1 yards. He generally catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage. So is he, an incredible route runner? He's running swing routes. He's a check down option. He just plays with quarterbacks who throw him the ball, which brings us to Brock Purdy. He will check it down when Christian McCaffrey's out there. But when it's not Christian, he would prefer to run it himself or throw the ball really far down the field to his receiver who runs a 4.7, Jauan. So I wonder if Robinson's production was just a function of being on the Commanders. And if he ever gets on the field here, he'll be used essentially how Jordan Mason was used, which is, a bunch of carries and minimal targets. I'm just saying. It's not like Brian Robinson is going to be lining up in the slot and running option routes and whip routes and Texas routes and all those things, that wheel routes, all the things that Christian McCaffrey runs to get open down the field. That's what makes Christian McCaffrey so good as a receiver. He's not catching swing passes over and over and over again. He's actually running a lot of routes. What is his average depth of target? Let's look. Last year was 3.2 yards past the line of scrimmage. The year before that, it was 1.8. Jordan Mason's about 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. So, it's nice to have another check down option so Brock Purdy doesn't try to do too much, because when he tries to do too much, it's not great. So, there is that. It's a nice move. I just feel like the better move would have been to keep the running back they signed as an undrafted free agent themselves. Because even if Brian Robinson Jr. works out, he's gone next year. It's a short-term Band-Aid. until they can find a better backup than Isaac Guerrero. Isn't it amazing how this trade was such an obvious referendum on Guerrero in particular? Fumbles 3 times, bring in Robinson. They don't play Robinson in the last preseason game because that's someone they need to protect. They throw Guerrero out there with a messed up shoulder. He messes it up again, and they take him out of the game and protect him, right? Psych! They keep him in there. Show us what you got, Isaac. That's messed up. But it's the NFL. Last year, they were talking about him being Raheem Mostert and returning kicks. This year, he's on kick coverage, and he's third in the pecking order behind the second best B. Robinson running back in the league. Joseph Ernberg says, Grant, is B-Rob just a younger Patrick Taylor? No, he's way better than Patrick Taylor. No offense to Patrick Taylor, but like, he's way better than Patrick Taylor. COVID killed standing on business. I'm bringing it back. Would Luke McCaffrey be viable if he gets cut? Oh, yeah, man. Anytime you can add the younger brother of a player already on the team, you got to do that, man. This is a, friends and family affair. I hope they do. I've been complaining about the wide 9 for years. When Robert Saleh installed it, I still wasn't sold, but he's such a good coach. He knows when to use it and when not to use it. D'Amico Ryans too, but then they left, and Steve Wilkes was trying to learn the wide 9 and coach it at the same time. Same with Nick Sorensen. They didn't know what the hell they were doing with that particular front and didn't really have things to change to. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to reveal secrets, but you've watched the games. You've watched the preseason games. They've been showing this. They don't only line up in a wide 9 anymore. If you're watching, they have lots of times where there's 5 men on the front, like a 3-4. I love it. I think it's really, really smart. I don't know when they're going to use it, but they put it on film, and so the Seahawks have to prepare for it, and they don't know when they're going to use it. They could see it 0 times, or they could see it all freaking game. But if I were the defensive coordinator, I would use this 5-man front a lot this year. Particularly against Seattle week 1. I've talked to Robert Saleh about the wide 9 before, not in a while, years ago. And the way he seems to think about it, forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, Robert, is that it's very effective against one-back offenses. When the Niners installed this, the team to beat in the NFC was the Rams. Their running back was Todd Gurley. Their quarterback was Jared Goff. And they were always in 11 personnel. They were always in 3 wide receiver formations. They were always in one-back sets with that slot receiver going in jet sweep motion. And the running game was just, the one back. Inside zone, outside zone. There wasn't a whole lot of scheme. And I think Saleh felt that there aren't a lot of ways that a one-back set can take advantage of a good wide 9. And I think he's essentially right about that. But the league has changed a little bit since 2019. You have fewer one-back offenses, fewer pass-first offenses. The proliferation of the 2-shell defense has really compelled offenses to use more, to run more, to use more heavy formations, to use more 2-back sets. Even the Rams. So now we got the Seahawks week 1, Clint Kubiak. That's a Niner guy. He was with the Niners 2 years ago. They're going to have a fullback. They're going to do some zone read. I mean, they're going to have 2 backs in the backfield, whether it's a fullback and a running back or a quarterback and a running back. There's going to be 2 guys you got to account for. There's going to be an extra blocker. And those are the fronts that give the wide 9 problems. 2 tight ends. A tight end and a fullback. Any way that you can widen that already wide 9, you're in trouble. So there's a lot of teams now that are trying to use heavy formations, condensed formations, and run the ball with a fullback on the field, with 2 tight ends on the field, with a quarterback you have to account for. And those are offenses that are built to annihilate the wide 9. You've been running this for like 6 years. People know the strengths and weaknesses. You're going to see more and more 2 tight end formations, more and more heavy formations, more and more runs. Why did Robert Saleh spend the first 5 picks on run defense? Because he knows what's coming. The first pick he had, Michael Williams, not a true D end. He's a guy who played a lot of 4 technique at Georgia in a 5-man front. D tackle in a 5. He did a lot of that. And instead of drafting a guy and asking him to do a bunch of stuff he's never done and asking him not to do the stuff he's comfortable with, it seems like the Niners are doing the smart thing, which is letting him do a lot of the stuff he did in college. You want a guy to make a big impact year 1? A guy who missed the whole preseason? Let him do exactly what he did in college. So I wrote an article this morning saying, I talked about it after the stream too. What is the worst position group on this team? I was thinking it's the D line. You got this wide 9, and I mean, I don't even know if you can generate any pass rush or any run defense with it. But all of a sudden you bring a 5th guy in there, I feel like you can stop the run. And what's nice about the way that they can run a 5-man front is they have this Sam Okwanu, who is really a good edge setter as a D end. But he can play from a 2-point stance like an outside linebacker and even drop into coverage. When's the last time the Niners had a player like that? Bosa can't do that. Michael can't do that. Bryce Huff can't do that. Maybe Samson Ebukam could have done that 4 or 5 years ago, but Sam Okwanu can. And you're going to see him do that. So what they could do is they could rush 5, drop Sam Okwanu into coverage, and blitz Nick Martin and Upton Stout. And they got 5-man rush with 3 D linemen, 1 linebacker, and 1 nickel. Or you could rush 4, drop Sam Okwanu, and rush Fred Warner. All these different looks. I have no idea all the different things Robert Saleh has planned for this look, but I think it's going to be a big curveball that the Niners are going to throw the league that the league isn't prepared for. It's going to help them a lot. And I think it's so, I'm not even going to say smart, like commonsensical. Run defense has been an issue for a while. The pass rush hasn't been great either. The wide 9 is officially not helping you anymore. So you don't have to scrap it entirely, but maybe try something else sometimes. And again, from preseason, we can see that they are. That instantly makes this team better. Peter does not drink, says shout out to Mama Ayuk. Shout out to Mama Ayuk. All right, last thing, Brock Purdy was interviewed by Albert Breer of SI. And he had this really interesting quote. He said, I felt this pressure on myself that I needed to be this Superman type guy and go out and make plays off schedule. There were some moments when I was like, dude, you've got to go back to the basics. It doesn't matter who's out there. The way Kyle calls plays, you run it right, just like your rookie year, and it works. Stick to that and be consistent. Don't go searching because Christian is out of this game and you think you have to go replace him. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. Now, Brock didn't say that last part, but it's essentially what he was saying. Last year, he was chasing waterfalls, whatever that means. I never really understood what that meant. But now he's going to go back to the rivers and the lakes that he's used to, and that essentially means checking the ball down to Christian McCaffrey. I love that. I love that Brock Purdy is clearly a fan of TLC, even though he was born in like 2000. Because TLC really captured the essence of the 90s to me. So I think that's nice. I also think it's nice that Brock is being honest with himself because last year he was playing like Caleb Williams. He was to blame for a lot of the Niners' close losses at the end of the fourth quarter because he went YOLO mode. You only live once. He went YOLO mode and threw a bunch of YOLO passes that Jimmy Garoppolo, frankly, would have been proud of. He channeled his inner Jimmy. Don't know why, but at least he acknowledged it here, and he's vowing to never channel his inner Jimmy ever again. I think maybe once you play with Jimmy Garoppolo, you see Jimmy Garoppolo on your team in the system, it's hard not to replicate that. Hard not to. And he did. But now he's talking about it, and the first step is acknowledging that you played like Jimmy last year. So I really want to give Brock credit He's always been honest with himself, as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo, who was like, what are you talking about? I'm doing a great job. Haven't you noticed? The interception I threw? Oh, no, it's not, that wasn't my fault. I'm not going to say whose fault it was, but it was the receiver's fault. I'm not going to name him by his government name, but it was number 18. Why would you think it was my fault? Kyle's plays don't work. And maybe Jimmy was right, but I like that Brock Purdy just takes it on himself. Pause. We should all be so honest with ourselves. We should all be able to look at ourselves in the mirror the way that Brock Purdy routinely does and Jimmy Garoppolo never did. You'd think that someone as handsome as Jimmy would be all up in that mirror, but no. But no. Because some mirrors show you what you don't want to see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's true. Ignore your naysayers. You're a damn national treasure. What naysayers? Everyone loves me all of a sudden. I don't like it. I'm much more comfortable with everyone talking shit, and it makes me feel like I'm being set up for something way worse than what I had to endure the last 15 years. So please knock it off. It's giving me anxiety. Is this an inside joke? I don't understand where it's coming from. I'm a 37-year-old man who yells into his laptop screen. I've been doing it for 15 years. It's not cute. I got to grow up at some point, but I won't. I'm a man baby. I am Peter Pan incarnate. Stop encouraging me. Go watch David Lombardi. He's much more mature than me. He's serious. You guys are all, it's your fault that I'm like this. You're encouraging me. I blame you. Waterfalls equals 20 yard. Waterfalls equals 20-yard Hail Mary. No one throws that 20-yard Hail Mary quite like our boy. Well, thank you for watching the latest episode of 37-year-old Yells at His Computer. You guys all have terrible taste in content creators and should be ashamed of yourself. Me? I don't even take myself seriously. But you guys do. Nice. I'm going to go over and watch David Lombardi. I don't know what you guys are thinking, man. Facts over feelings. Let's see what David has to say. Thanks for watching.